Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Dr. Manon.
So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have with me Ramin Chemideh, and he has been a meditator for many years, Vipassana meditation. He also has practiced and is teaching yoga, and also now has training in yoga therapy. And I have also had the pleasure of meeting him because he decided to learn Bowen therapy with Bowen College. So welcome. And I think my first question to you is what brought you into, I'm going to call healing in a larger sense, not like the doctor patient sense, but really the student of the processes of our body, of healing, of internal connection, which is sort of my understanding, a little bit of meditation and yoga. So what made you decide that that was what you want to do?
Thank you for having me here. Great to be here. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much. I think when I reflect on my life up to this moment, first it was like a dream. I don't know if did I live that life. It's just it's like blink of eye. Oh, I'm here. I'm already 50 years old. Half of the century. Not that it matters, but I didn't realize how I got here. It was just like a sleep. So I think I stumbled upon this path. I remember from early age when I was about 14, 15, going to the mountain by myself at night and just going to the cave. And I had my Sufi teacher was living in a cave there in Shiraz. Shiraz is one of the historic side of a city of Iran. And I grew up there, and actually our house was almost 10 minutes away from poet Hafiz. I don't know if anyone knows about him. It's a well-known poet from 12th or 13th century. And I was lucky to grow up in that city actually, and it had different very relaxed culture in that city and very poetic. And early age when I was teenager, I used to go to the mountain and see my teacher, Sufi teacher, who lives in a mountain in a cave. And I used to take some food for him and go to the mountain. And he wouldn't talk very much. It was just mostly, hello, Ramin. And I said, hello, elder. I used to call him elder. And then I put some food that I brought, I left it there for him and just sat down there and he make a small fire and just sitting there and doing his own things. And me, I said, okay, elder, I have to go, see you later. Because it was very silence communication from early age. And I didn't know, I just heard about the story of this elder who lives in a mountain. I was so fascinated. Who is this man who's living out of town in a cave? I was so curious, I'm always drawn to the mystery, unknown. Yeah, so I think it started from there, and then I moved to Europe. I lived in Holland. I studied language there. I studied Dutch for a year, but somehow I decided, no, I want to go to Canada. I had this book, a native study book, and it was talking about a shaman who was protecting his people and guiding their people through those difficult times. And he was leading them by communicating by nature, with wind, trees, birds, and he get the message and he guide the people where he has to go to be safe. I was so fascinated with that North American story of, North American native. So I think all of these things brought me to Canada. I always tell my friend, I think it was a native chief who called me to Canada. By reading that story, it's just something percolating me, and I just want to go to Canada. yeah. And then I came to Europe when I was 19, and then a year after I was 20, I came to Toronto, and there I used to practice boxing since I was teenager. So when I used to go to the mountain, it was part of my practice also to run in a mountain. It was
Okay.
part of my preparation for championship, and so with this background, I came to Europe, and then for a year I studied there, and then I came to Canada, and then I went to the business. I went to the to school. I studied computer. I never got into that field of work, computer,
Mhm.
even though I finished school then. And then I met a shaman in Toronto who was teaching in University of York, and he also he had this multi-dimensional, personality and dimension that it was so fascinating, and I got to be his friend, and by reference of another friend, and then we become very good friends for 7 years. So I used to go to his place, and then I had to go to work the next day, but over all night we were sitting, and I realized, oh, it's morning, I have to go to work. I have to go to work. I lost the time again. And I had no problem being there and then going to work and not feeling tired and just go and do my work and again come back home. So he basically cleaned my mind. He opened my mind to certain things that I was not open. And he took me under his wings and he showed me different aspects of culture, human life, and all these things. And I didn't know at that time this is really happening. It was really like normal interaction between me and yourself, and like the same.
Mm.
Now, when I reflect on it, I realize the impact of those meetings that I had with him, and I really didn't know. It's like I had one of the best teacher in life, and coming to, I'm so grateful for so much blessing that life has brought me.
It's interesting too how, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like.
And it's interesting too how, with the first person was like more in silence, but it's a feeling state. Like something was conveyed, that some transmission between you and him, and and then of course later we start to have meaning about it, but it's interesting that first attraction, of connection,
Mhm.
even without words, right? Just being in the presence of it. So that's funny because so you didn't really set out. You set out by the vision of the story, and then you find through life, what some people call coincidence. I can't see coincidence happen. I think it's like when we look back at our life, we realize there are no coincidences, but in the moment you never know, right? You don't
Yeah,
know.
it was not planned. Yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
Anyway, go on.
yeah. Um, Thank you for your feedback. Um, and and so after he moved to Amsterdam to write a book with one of the prof in University of Amsterdam. So I used to visit him for a couple of years. Every summer I go there for a month with him and then come back. And one day we went to the cafe, and then there's a man, his friend, who's training dogs for championship. His name is Harry. And Harry took us to a cafe in Amsterdam, very old cafe called Absting Cafe. And then we went there with my friend, and we were sitting there, and Harry was telling me, you came to Amsterdam and you never went to look, what is around in the city. And I paused and I said to him, I only come here to see my friend. I'm only here to see my friend. Amsterdam is beautiful. I love Amsterdam. But now I'm just here to see my friend. And this is what I felt. It really doesn't matter for me where I was. I just wanted to be with him. It's just so dear, to have a friend and someone who can understand you so deeply. And I visited Iran, I went to that cave. My elder passed away. I went there. I meditated there. I came back. The next day I came to home and I slept. And I had this dream that I'm sitting in this cave, and all of a sudden the wind hit there's a wooden door with a wooden door in front of the cave, and the wind hit this door, and the door opens up like this, hitting the wall. And I'm sitting meditating inside the cave, and I bring my head up and look at the sky. And I saw this eagle so close to this cave, and he's looking at this eagle, looking at, you know, the cave. And you know how eagles fly? It's not like a pigeon like this. It's just, you know, it's sliding with the air. And so it was, I could see his movement of his wings. And then I had that dream the next day. A couple of days after I came back to Canada, I stopped in Holland for a week, and I saw my friend there. And one night when we were sitting, and he said to me, Ramin, that dream that you had, the mountain and the bird, those are spiritual tools that has been given to you, so you could use it. And I said to him, how do you know my dream? And he was just smiling. Really, there is no boundary of mind there. It's like so, you know, connection. And it's like oneness. We know about each other, feeling what happened to each other. And human has that capacity, but we are so far from it.
Yeah.
Whole idea of healing and whole idea of therapy is to bring us back to this source of connection, that we already have it. We just have lost the contact or weakened that connection based on the lifestyle we have. And we are so victim to this pattern of life and responsibilities and cultural acceptance. And so a human has to go through so many of these barriers to just be himself. The whole idea of healing and therapy is just helping one to connect to that side of themselves. You know, by releasing the tension from their system, from their consciousness, and then opening their you know, their different faculty in their systems, and so they can live fully, more wholly. And so that was the idea of healing, but I really didn't know that was the plan. So I came and I lost the contact with my friend, and then he disappeared, and we cannot find him. He liked to be loner. He liked to spend time with his cat and his books. So I respect his privacy. And I realized maybe time is for me to make the island for myself, not to go to the people island. It's time to create a foundation. I already gained certain things. Maybe it's time for me to start, you know, building these things, building these foundations. So I came to, in about 2005, I got to know Vipassana meditation. It's a 10-day silence retreat. First time when I went there, before that, I I went to University of Toronto. I studied anthropology, native and spirituality in University of Toronto. Actually, I audited, I never wrote the exam. 2 years I went there full time. And after that, I did some native through University of Toronto. We did some ceremony up in their land. And then from there, I opened up to Vipassana meditation. And the 10-day silence retreat is a teaching by Buddha. Buddha, when he got enlightened, he introduced different type of technique for different mind capacity. And Vipassana is one of that tradition that Buddha has taught. And it's a process of self-observation. And by collecting our attention from outside world and redirect it toward ourselves, what we feel within this framework of the body. That was a training. And paying attention to breath, to train the mind to come to the present moment. It is the healing of Buddha. That one. I have so much respect to it because I've seen such a noble people, and I've seen it helped me enormously in my life. And then I came to find a way to make it, to live also is something that compatible with my nature. So I was practicing yoga, but I never thought about it as a teacher. And then one night I got inspiration about the yoga training, and then I went to yoga training in the yoga training in Vancouver, Prana Yoga College. At that time, they are not here anymore. It's one of the oldest school in Vancouver, yoga school. And from there, I start teaching in community centers. I start teaching in studios. I start teaching in elementary school to the kids. I start teaching to the teachers. And there's so many venues open up to me. And while I was teaching yoga, I realized people more coming to my vibration when they have difficulties, like some sort of pain and difficulties. And I started working with them just intuitively. And then I realized, oh, it seems that this is calling me more. So I went to yoga therapy school and I studied there, which was very fascinating because it taught me about belief barriers, how belief barriers can be detrimental for our healing. And, you know, and a lot of people goes to professional, healthcare professional, and they come back with so much information in their head, and those information is so barriers for their healing sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not the problem of the healthcare, it's just the problem of human mind that doesn't know what to do with what it gets sometimes. And it has life of its own.
Yeah, so like an example of that. I mean, I can think of many in my practice. Like a diagnosis itself can be a barrier because it's attached to a prognosis. What will happen if they follow the guidance, typically as if they were a number and they would have the normal reaction that is expected. But it kind of puts you down, or a scan, you say, oh, a scan. Well, it shows there's, degeneration of disc degeneration. So now we have an image of the disc degenerating. And the thing is, we know that it has no correlation to the experience that you're actually having or the mobility. But when you believe the picture and the prognosis, then suddenly you end up living into that, into that vision. And it's very hard. So I'm very curious, like in your experience as a yoga teacher at that time, what were you seeing when you say people were blocked by, or they have these thoughts and they're very powerful, and we have information, but it doesn't help them? What do you mean by that?
Well, I can give a simple example to explain that what I mean. I had this client that had problem with neuropathic problem, and his leg wasn't getting order anymore. So, from his lower body, he wasn't
Getting
signals.
signals. Okay.
So it has a weak signal. So his leg was so weak. And then when I met him first, he says, after 50 years, 57 years old, and all this success in my life, I come to the place that even if I go to washroom, I need a walker to go there. End of my life, I came to this place. I said, I think your life just started. And he says, what do you mean? I said to him, I will tell you. I work with him a little bit. And he was talking about creator, and he has so much devotion to creator. And I said to him, when you were a businessman traveling to Hong Kong and here and there, were you a happy person? He says, no. I said, do you think you are closer to creator now or then? And he paused and he says, I think I'm closer to creator now. I says, your mind was so wild, you would not stop in one place. We go after one container after the next one. You're so fascinated with a maze of these things, business, that you lost so many attention of anything in your life. So life has told you to sit down. Now, every move you do it mindfully. Everything you do it presently. You need this experience for your consciousness before you evolve. And that was stopping you from evolving. You might lose something of movement, but it brought you to activate different dimension within you, which was there, but which was forgotten. And all of a sudden, you come to realize blessing in distinguish within this problem. So that's what I mean by mental barriers, is how we look at things, is a container of what we could receive. And certain way of thinking, it lower our vibration down, which make the healing very difficult. So we have to remove this one. We have to show the other, way of to increase our vibrations.
Hi, this is a small commercial break, and for you to let me know that you're enjoying these conversations, please go 1, to subscribe to my podcast, number 2, write a review, because if you write a review on iTunes, more people know about this and I can help spread the work, my work, but the work of everyone else I'm interviewing. And number 3, please sign up to my tips for your healing journey. And you can do that under www.drmanonbolliger.com/tips. Thank you.
So Bowen therapy is one way to increase our vibration. By bringing the body to the relaxing mode, automatically our vibration increases because it removes the barriers by calming the body and mind and nervous system. So this is one of the things, yoga therapy and Bowen therapy, I noticed is, what I noticed in Bowen therapy was communicating with subtle body in human. Is different. Like physiotherapists, they empower you with information and couple movement, but actually this is different. This is a communication with the subtle body. We have physical body, we have subtle body. It communicates with that aspect of us, which we might not be so sensitive about it. But this is a way, actually, we become more sensitive and attuned to it. And it has the pathway of connection to our deeper core, the grounding space where we call home. It comes gradually, slowly, slowly. That's why we did it. Sometimes when I notice how Bowen therapy has 7 weeks, 5 to 7 weeks of work, it's just slowly, slowly, it gets you there. It's very humble. It comes very slowly, but it takes you with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love the way you describe that. It's
because it happened to me.
Yeah.
I went through it myself. Slowly, slowly, I open up to understand. Oh, there is different layer under this work that I come to understand, and so going through yoga therapy, I realized some people are not comfortable so much by movement. In yoga therapy, we incorporate a lot of different path of breathing techniques, and it's very useful and powerful. But so I noticed that some people are elders and are not so comfortable with the movement, and they don't like to be told what to do. So I respect their mind capacity, and Bowen therapy was a way somehow to minimize those communications, and then and mostly happen in silence, and they don't have to move, and it does the same work also. So for me, to understand different model of healing was to diversify my mind, so I have broader understanding of the illnesses or difficulties within our body and consciousness. And all these years, I think unconsciously I developed this art, that I have these lenses that it can reveal to me what can be good solution or good medicine for that process. Sometimes I used to doubt myself and I didn't have self-confidence. But as I continue to keep my faith and continue practicing, I come to understand that these days I don't think about it anymore. Don't think about it. Still, there is my old stories, but I think my present is stronger to hold on the ground, to be affected by those stories. So I come to Bowen Therapy School for a reason that I can serve the communities in a different way. And, and, and I was inspired to see people after every session. They look different. Their faces opens up. They come tired, stressed, and so contracted. And then when they leave their face and their smile is so organic and natural and their body opens up, it's such a good feeling when people leaves your home and they feel so good. I feel like I gained so much good karma, you know, not that I'm looking for it, but I realized it's a wholesome work, basically. That's the reason I feel so content when I do this work. I have difficulty when it comes to business side of it myself, but I'm training myself, and I inspire to see some teacher like yourself, though, how you go through these challenges that comes through your path, and so I'm learning still, and I don't know if I talk too much, but please remind me if
No,
I.
no, this is no. It's just it's fascinating to because I think like you, I believe there's different doors and different pathways, but everything that one encounters in healing or everything to me is healing. That's I think the bottom line. So every relationship and every whether it's the eagle or whether it's the new connection to the power in hands, the ability to be so receptive to information from this way, or just all the parts are such a learning. There's such a deep motivating learning if you're into that, and the learning is I just love, and it's so relaxing not to think everything comes from the mind. Everything is information. It's just control the mind, but allow the body and our presence and being in the moment to guide in the teaching itself. So I find that I find it interesting, with your experience in meditation, then yoga, and now doing Bowen therapy, how you've been able um, to find yet another door that is reflective of the general feeling and space that you enjoy in life, that you relate to, that is holistic and wholesome to you, right?
Sure.
So yeah, no, I'm no, it's a great show. So I do have a one question then. So how has it? And I understand business is it's work in process. It's our relationship to that as well, and many things that can come on our path to understand. Because I don't think we're necessarily born as business people. We're born in a different way. We have other skill sets, so everything else is you learn as you go. And uh, I've learned everything from mistakes, so that's my biggest teacher. But it's noticing the mistakes and then course correcting, and not taking it too personally, not being too hard on yourself, right? Not saying, oh my God, like how, I have said it a few times. I've made such profound stupidities that because I didn't understand something. Like for example, I had a website and I didn't understand that if I gave away the admin control of it, that I would lose the entire website. If I didn't know that, right? I just thought that, oh, you can share that information, but there's things like that you learn and you never do it twice. But anyhow, lots of stories on that, but that's not really my biggest interest. My question though is, so in my practice, I would see quite a few yoga teachers, because injuries happen, they do come, and especially from new people doing yoga, if they're not careful, or if they're not, sometimes they're under more stress, and they may injure themselves. Have you found that it's helped you by having Bowen therapy, that it's given you a broader ability to help those same people?
Um, yeah, the thing is, when I work as a yoga therapist, and people come to me and they explain about their problem, I always tell them, oh, this one and this one I can help you with a Bowen therapy, but it is recommended to to not have any other therapy with it for 5 to 7 weeks. So after we finish this, we can do Bowen therapy.
Mhm.
And then because I didn't want to mix it, I just wanted to give right, time for that healing. And I don't want to mix things yet. I mean, I don't know if it's good. And but I think each one is so powerful modality for itself that uh, it can be applied whenever it's needed. And so with the Bowen therapy, it broader in my mind for sure. It diversify my mind. I think since Bowen therapy school, um, I, I noticed that my depth of understanding of of body and healing and all meridian and nutritions and also communication of fingers with muscles and to a feeling faculty within our body. I think I find it very unique, and I find it that my clients really uh, take notice that there is a change coming to them, and they book me for another one. Um, so so far so good. Basically, I'm just trying. I'm a person. As I go, I see, and then oh, it works, so I continue. So
Mhm.
this is how I am. Um, I get respond and then I continue. I get respond. Yeah, if I don't get respond a little bit, then I realize I need to bring some changes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not to
Yeah,
take
and I
it
guess,
personally, not to take it personally, but I realize, oh,
yeah,
maybe, yeah,
yeah.
another way to upgrade our energy field. Sometimes what we do is good, but sometimes our energy needs to be upgraded. And
Mhm.
so it's important as a therapist and as a healer to work on ourselves is so important.
Mhm.
It's so important not to go to the therapy work with not working with ourselves. We have to bring ourselves in the right place for this.
Mhm.
We need to value this work. We need to value this work. We have to feel worthy and of doing this work. All of these things can impact uh, your healing art. And it was for me. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm talking about it. Yeah.
Mhm. But what you're saying is true for the patient too, right? Because the thing is, at least when I'm looking at what in my practice, if I felt like if I didn't have a solution when they had pain or injury that could help them, it's like a person in pain is going to find a solution for pain somewhere. And being able to offer that, it was like the relationship could go much deeper because I could offer a solution for pain, and I could then offer all the other things that my own, my other skills as a naturopathic physician and as a homeopath, other things could come in. But I didn't. I was able to build it because their pain was dealt with, and that's what I'm wondering. Like in your setting with yoga, now that you can address pain, it's like you're on a journey, you're in a deeper journey with them. It's okay for them to have a break from yoga or from whatever other activities, because that's what it's like. That's how we heal. We have to honor the different stages that our bodies are in, so I was wondering if you were starting to see or feel that way in your practice.
I have actually. I have, I that I'm still learning about it, but I come to experience those moments time to time, and and it's okay for sure, and definitely it's okay to use different like Bowen for introduce new modality to them. And I know a client that it's good for them. Like I feel, oh, this person can benefit so much of this. Like I have a sense what medicine I can offer to these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, um, and so far so good. Let's
Mm-hmm.
see what happened next. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and I'm trying to remember when we first met, and you were asking, I have. Do you remember what your question was? Because I remember that I picked up the phone, we had a conversation, and you were curious. Um, what was your question? What was the inquiry?
Yeah. Basically, I heard from one of the meditation senior teacher of Canada who lives in uh, Toronto, outside of Toronto in a meditation center. And she's a psychiatrist, and I have so much respect for her in a sense of maturity in meditation and as a human being. And I have so much respect for her work and her teaching. Um, I heard that she was recommending Bowen therapy to one of the other teacher of Vipassana for their son, that they took the son to many therapists and the son didn't get any result. And she was saying, take him to the Bowen therapist, but tell him you have to be patient for a couple months and don't judge it. Just go through the process and give it a couple of months. When I heard this thing, I have so much respect for me. It's like an inspiration come from her. So I went and researched Bowen therapy. And I was going to India a couple of months after. And I pick up the phone, I read about it. So, oh, it's the same school of thought. It's just very, very scientific. I like to learn something scientific so I can talk to people in a scientific way, not scientific way, but in a logical way. So it makes a sensible way in a sense. And and so I I call you and you told me I told you that I'm going away. And he said you mentioned that I could get the book and read about it and then come back on March. But something when I heard about it, I'm very suspicious where I'm going, so I want to make sure this is right place. But something in your voice was so authentic at that time. I felt that it stayed with me. So when I came back 4 or 5 months back, I came back from India. I, I registered to come for the course. I think one of the things you were not pushy, you were not trying to sell, you were trying to understand me and trying to come up with very, natural solution, very, very authentic. And I was touched by these qualities in human general. I think there's something right about this when I see these things in people that has developed this aspect of themselves. So I noticed that one when I first called Bowen therapy, and then um, I I met the what was her name?
Catherine?
Patrick.
Yeah.
And Catherine also was very helpful and explaining things to me, and she was very helpful. And she came to the coffee shop and she sat down. She spent so much time to explain things. That's very nice of her. And then I came to school, and my first expression was, probably this is a scam. How could this just couple move can bring so much change? I didn't know that during training first, I didn't notice those 2 minutes or 3 minutes in between and the whole setting and the right atmosphere. One time that I received healing, Bowen therapy healing, then I experienced, oh, this is something else. I was so glad that I come to different space of understanding of it. It's like an artist, somebody show me a picture of art. If I don't know about it, I look at it for 1 minute, I grasp a couple things. But if I'm an artist, work 10 years for it, I could enter to the different layer of this picture. So it takes time really to come to right understanding of the process, especially things like healing and therapy,
Mm.
very subtle and sensitive. It takes years to develop this compass of working with it.
Mm.
So, but it has to be calling, right calling.
Yeah.
So not everyone called to be healer.
No, absolutely. And not everyone, this is the right thing. You know, it's like it, I really believe strongly there's not one solution that's right for anyone, and there's not one, you know, therapist that's, you know, like you have to find your way as a healer down the path.
Mm.
But you know, what I loved about this, and I remember I wanted to ask you because I couldn't remember exactly, but it's the journey itself is when you do something that is still rather unknown and a little bit different and a little bit minimalistic, which I mean, you know, meditation is very minimalistic. You don't do much at all, right? You know, but it's funny when we go through this process, you know, you get to experience it fully, and you experience your thoughts and all of the objections that a lot of people who receive the work have, right? Because they're going, how could this work? You know, it, like there's not enough happening here, you know. But of course there is plenty happens, as you now know and you've experienced. But it's really interesting to see that development. It's like I always look at it like a dance with life. You know, you're given something, and now we learn to dance and see how that flows.
I like that analogy. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So listen, our time is actually up, but I um, any last statement, and you know, of course, if people happen to be local and they can get in touch with you, we'll put your how to get hold of you on the blog. But is there any last statement you want to share?
For sure. Something that I noticed when I was going to Bowen College is I come to realize I might know many different modality. I might know some other modality of healing, but I noticed that certain things, it takes time to mature. So I noticed Bowen therapy, like if it's written exam, I could sit down for 1 week, read the book and just memorize. But when it comes to working with as a practical aspect of it, certain things in life, it takes time. We have to accept that. We don't expect, we go there and just do it perfectly. We have to realize that through process, we perfect. We move towards perfection by practicing. So be patient with yourself. Be patient if things doesn't work sometimes. How you handle these things that doesn't work during your practice is more important to learn how to respond to this sometimes I would say unfortunate moment that we don't have the solution or we don't know. To accept that we don't know, even in front of the client, sometimes is good. It's very humble. It open room to learn possibilities and don't pretend something that you don't know that you know.
Yeah.
And because people feel it and it's about integrity of our work and and it's important to speak of something that we really experience and we know. And that's why we need practice. That's why it takes time, this kind of art and healing. It takes time to blossom, to
Mm.
perfect.
All
So be patient with yourself. And all these 20 cases study that I had to go through, first it was 5 and 10 possibly, and then it became 20. And I come to understand it's really needed because it helped me to spend more time with the body, with my hand gets more time on work. And I was just gaining so much experience and wisdom by it. So be, be patient is my message to all other my friends and like myself students on this path and be patient and things start evolving without you know it.
Well, I'm going to leave you with those beautiful words, and thank you so much for taking your time to do this interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Dr. Manon. For more information, go to drmanonbolliger.com.